You are now tuned in to Let's Talk About Healing.
And for the version of me that got me here did its job. But this version of me has to evolve again in order to get to the next level.
We're so focused on the negative outcome. Change the narrative that's going on in your head instead of looking at what can go wrong. Obsess over what can go right.
That part.
Now here's your host, Yvonne Pierre.
Hello and welcome to Let's Talk About Healing. I'm your host, Yvonne Pierre, and I am joined by my special guest co-host, April Draine. Today we're talking about nurturing better relationships, not just romantic relationships, but your relationship with God, friends, family, yourself. And we're going to really get into it. April, hello.
Hey, Yvonne. I'm excited about this one.
I am too. We've been hearing forever. You don't get a guide when you become a parent, even though they do have books on parent. Anyway, a lot of the stuff that we're taught from what we see and how we grew up and what has been passed down to us. So I'm curious to know, what does a healthy relationship look like to you?
Oh, we'll just keep going around on that one throughout the rest of this conversation. But I'm growing to understand that wherever I can be freely me, flawed and all, and there's balance in the relationship, there are times when it's 50-50 and sometimes 80-20. So I'm not saying that type of balance, but balance in the sense of there's something that I can give you and you can give me, and it's not we keeping tabs on each other.
Right.
It's something bigger in this relationship. So the freedom to being the freedom of having balance and acceptance. And I'm learning even on my side of accepting people as they are, because you want people to accept you as you are.
Yes.
But accepting people literally where they are, but knowing that there is still room for growth at their pace. And I'm not loving you until or with a condition. I simply love you. And even though I may see more in you, I can still love you as you are now. And supporting somebody with a loving way of challenging them as well. Supporting me where I am, but still challenging me in love. To say, you know what, I see something bigger and better in you, and I'm going to be along for the ride to keep rooting for you and encourage you and give you a nice little push. So that's kind of high level, but I'm sure we'll talk more about that as we keep talking. But I want to hear what your version or I don't want to say definition, but what do you consider to be a healthy relationship?
It took me a while to even think about what a healthy relationship looked like, in the course of my life, because a lot of times you kind of go with the flow, and then you can point out what you don't like, or I've never sat down and said, okay, this is exactly what I need. What a healthy relationship look like to me, I agree with you as far as someone who I can be free and be myself with, but also someone that I can go beyond just my trauma.
Yeah.
Like I've had a lot of friendships that were trauma bonds.
Yep.
But when it was time to share good things that's going on in my life, they didn't want to hear it. And they didn't say they want to hear it, but you can tell. If I can't share my good news with you, then what type of friendship is that? And for a while, I would just keep like calling them just with the bad news. And then I had to realize that, I need to fall back. But anyway, as far as a healthy relationship, we nurture each other. We love on each other.
Come on,
We're able to have a disagreement and just say, okay, let's just agree to disagree and move on. And be able to call them when you got good news, bad news, when you got You need a shoulder to cry. And now, not to be my therapist.
Oh, come on.
I'm not looking for a therapist,
Yeah.
but social media has really showed you who were and weren't your friends. But I had to also realize that sometimes connection with people can be misinterpreted as this is my friend.
Okay, say that again. I'm trying to make sure. I think I know what you're saying, but say a
So
little bit
more. If we have a connection, you connect with somebody on social media or somebody from your past or whatever, just because we're connected, we cool, don't mean they have put me in a friend category.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
So, but you find out they don't never invite me to stuff that's important to them. They invite their friends, but I'm not part of that circle that they're inviting. So, but I have to realize, oh, no, we're just connected through this, or we're connected through that, but this is not a friendship. And instead of my feelings being hurt, I had to learn to kind of just let it be, and move. But anyway, I don't want to jump ahead, but yeah, that's what a healthy relationship looked like to me, is someone that, man, the love is. I want to share an example. I have a friend named Dawn that had cancer. And she, because she didn't have anybody to take her to her treatments. And I said, you don't have to worry about that no more. I'll take you. She was like, are you sure? And I said, yeah, even it was like an hour away. But I was like, well, how often? It's only once a month, So for a year, I was taking her back and forth to get her treatments, to urgent care. And I stayed with her all the way to the end. Even when she was in the hospital, she was in hospice. I went up there every day playing music for her and letting her know, how much I love her. And she taught me friendship. Through that journey with her, I learned friendship, because we would have disagreements. We would get on each other's nerves.
Yep.
And we continue.
Yep.
The next day we laughing about it.
Yep.
We deal with it and we move on. And I was so used to unhealthy relationships that I didn't know. I was like, okay, she's going to stop calling me. Okay, this the end of that, But then when she would call me the next day, and I said, oh.
So she showed you really, so I'm interested in that, because your Dawn sounds like my Melody. You'll hear Melody's name mentioned a lot.
Yeah.
But when you mentioned Dawn, so how did you all's friendship start off? I mean, I know you mentioned
our friendship started 30 years ago. She was actually my sister's friend, but me and her developed. I was in her wedding, and we developed a friendship. But at first I didn't nurture it, because that's my sister's friend. Yeah. So I kind of kept a certain distance, but she would help me with my books, and she taught special education. She was a tutor for Zion, and it was an on and off friendship. I had a really, really, really strong feeling like I needed to talk to her. And I was like, man, I wonder how she's doing. Because we would always bump into each other because we stayed in the same area. And I was like, man, I haven't seen her. I hope she's okay. I need to talk to her. And I was.
So you just felt this need to just reach out
to her. Wow, and it was so strong, but I couldn't find her number. I didn't know, she had moved and all this stuff. So I was like, I don't know how to get in touch with her. And I was hoping I would bump into her husband or something at the store. So I had changed phones, and I was going through my phone, and I had put her number in a note, in my notes, not in my phone, but in my notes. Mm-hmm. And so I got a new phone. I connected it. And when somehow notes came up, and I was like, oh, let me reinstall it or whatever. And her number, I was going through it like, oh man, I ain't seen this stuff in a long time, in years. And her number popped up. And I said, let me call her right now. And I said, she was very straightforward, strict, what we was total opposites. Like, I'm silly, whatever. She's like extremely serious and all that. But I brought the silly out of her.
Oh,
so
okay.
We kind of brought stuff up out of each other for that year journey of traveling together, going to for her to get her treatments. That last year of her life really taught me a lot about love, about friendship, she made me re-examine how I saw friendship. The day before she passed, I told her, thank you for teaching me how to be a friend.
Wow.
But I read to her, I read the Bible to her, and every day I would go up there and put music on that I knew she was really into jazz music. She was really into gospel. So I would play the music so her soul could hear it, because the 3 days before she passed, she only lived for 3 days in hospice. And the 3 days that she was in hospice, she lost her ability to speak, which I think is very spiritual. And I broke down crying, and she saw me crying, but she was trying to like fight to talk. And I said, no, it's okay. I'm going to be okay. Because she was fighting to live. And I said, you can let go now. And I went home, and the nurse called me, and she said she just passed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I told the nurse what happened. She said, you freed her.
That's a statement I've heard in people's passing.
Yeah.
It's usually like, just to know, like, sometimes they're holding on because they're waiting for somebody to get there. They're holding on or waiting. And of course, I haven't been on that side as far as the person who's transitioning, but when I've just heard that statement many times.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like, just knowing that you'll be okay. Sometimes they're holding on so much for you.
Yeah.
But they just want to know that you're okay. And that's like one of the best gifts, because we want to be, it's the human nature in us. When you see somebody you love, you want to keep them and hold them for as long as you can. And you also don't want them to be in pain.
Yeah.
And so it's like you're both trying to hold on for each other, but somebody has to have you know what, I love you enough to let you go.
Yeah.
Even if it's like in death, or even in living. Sometimes there are people they're still walking around on this earth, but it's like, I love you enough to let you go.
Yeah.
If it's what it takes for you to be the better version of you.
Yes.
So that gift of freeing them, and even going back to what we were saying earlier, as far as a healthy friendship, there is freedom. There's no one's being forced to be in this.
Yeah.
There's no certain version of yourself that you have to be in order to be in relationship with me. I'm just trusting that you're trying to bring the best version of you, and you're accepting this version of me. But even if we start to see that, okay, you're not fully able to be yourself, I love you enough to say, if you can't be happy with me, I'd rather free you so you can be happy, period.
Yes.
So the fact that even in her passing, and the nurse telling you what you did helped free her, that can say a whole lot on so many different levels.
Yeah.
I think that's like a beautiful gift of friendship. And that was all in a year, you and her?
The travel, yeah. Toward the end, it was a lot. It was a lot of urgent care, and because her body started failing. But I try to look at things from a spiritual perspective.
Yeah.
We went out to eat one day. We didn't know it was her last one, but we would always go out to eat after her treatments, because you can't eat before, and she, ultimately we were helping each other. She said, I needed those moments in the car. There's 2 hours in a day we're in the car, or over 2 hours we're just talking. And the last week or two were just silent. The last few times were very silent driving because she was in a lot of pain. But it taught me so much about life, about friendship, and even just being in the treatment center, being around the cancer patients. I needed it too, because I had, me having heart failure and having a heart condition and having a heart attack and all the health issues I was going through. That helped give me strength to be around. And you see different personalities, you see different, it's so many different ways people were processing it. But I don't want to veer too far off a topic, but I just wanted to point out how no matter what the circumstances are, well, it taught me so much about nurturing friendships and relationships. And it helped me let go of my fear of getting too close. It made me open up and really love on her and really allow her to love on me. So just the life lessons, that I learned in that process of going through that with her. And because sometimes we're afraid to love because we're afraid to lose.
That part.
So that was the ultimate loss. But I learned to love her anyway and be there and hold her and literally hold her hand to the end. Some people, when they're going through stuff like that, people withdraw from you.
Yeah.
People pull away
because they don't know how to handle it.
Because, right. Yeah. It's because of fear. They're afraid of how they're going to handle losing you.
Dawn, I'm just that's a beautiful gift as a friendship. Yeah. I'm sorry. That's a real beautiful gift, even if it was 30 years to get to that 1 year or however long it was.
Yeah.
That's rare that people can find the gift in friendship in the way that you all did, in the way that she gave it, in the way that you were able to reciprocate it and be there till the end.
Yeah.
And the fact, like you said earlier, not everyone knows how to be a friend in seasons of transitions, whether it's life transitions or just the friendship itself is transitioning. It's like it's either I'm there or I'm not. It's not, I don't know how to just still walk this thing out in this uncomfortable space, and for you to be able to stay literally till the end, to give her the freedom of I'm going to be okay and you're okay, and letting her know her babies were going to still be taken care of. That's a whole gift that is like.
Yeah. And really, I want to point out too, that she do have two other friends, two best friends.
But this is just your version. Like you can always speak on your experience with her. So that's what I'm saying. Her gift, or you all's gift in friendship, I believe it's like a beautiful thing that not everyone gets to have.
Yeah.
I have in my sister, I call her my sister, but she's my cousin, Melody. She is still alive, thankfully, but like she's taught me so much about what friendship is beyond just being family. So hearing how Dawn was to you, it just reminds me of, I didn't have a lot of lessons of what it looks like to be a true friend, like a true friend, or who to even compare friendships to, until Melody and I had our own like season of being tested and challenged, and the way we overcame, she taught me in real time. And so I'm not in a sorority or anything like that, although I thought I would be at some point, but I always desired to have friendship and sisterhood in a way, with me being the only girl. Melody is still in real time showing me how to be a friend, and she is the barometer of what I compare other friendships to. So I'm really grateful when it comes to talking about friendships and sisterhoods or relationships that have stood the test of time. And there are lessons that can be reflected on without it being like a bad taste in my mouth about that person, you know? So,
and I have a really close cousin like that too. And I do have another awesome friend that's probably listening right now. Hey girl. But I just wanted to point Don out because of the loss and how sometimes fear of losing, and that's what kind of kept me from getting too close to certain people, is because had lost my father and I had lost so many people around. I had abandonment issues. So she helped me overcome that without either of us knowing that. But I want to ask, since we talked about challenges, we've all had, of course, challenges in friendship, and you kind of touched on it already when you said that, you know, you and Melody, and hey, Melody, when you had issues, but learning how to overcome those issues. So what would you say, and not just in that friendship and kinship, but in friendship in general, what has been the greatest challenge, and how have you managed to overcome it?
With friendship, again, I go back to her because we've been cousins since we were born. She's 4 years older than me. She's an only child, and I'm the only girl of my 3 siblings and I, or my 2 brothers and I. And even though I'm like during teenage years, you know, everybody's trying to figure themselves out. You say you have friends, and you do, but you still trying to figure your stuff out. And then you go off to college and you go on to life, and life teaches you a lot about a lot of things. And it was in my season of transitioning from college into adulthood that Melody and I had one moment of where our friendship was tested. And ironically, it was when I needed her the most. But because of the season that I was in and other people who were in my ear, I started to see her as, oh, she's not supporting me because she wished this was her. She wished. And I was hearing outside people who did not know her or myself, or as far as our relationship and friendship and kinship. But I started allowing myself to hear outside people more than I heard her. And I started to say to her what they were saying to me. Oh, you just mad because you wish it was you. And it wasn't even my tone. It wasn't my stance. And her response to me, rather than combating back and forth with me, I never forget her saying, and it was kind of, again, what I alluded to you with your relationship with Dawn. She just simply said, you know what, I love you too much to even go there with you. And so she freed me from the friendship by just saying, I'll still be here. You may let go of me, but I'm not letting go of you. But if this is what it takes, I'll do have. And I was kind of mad because it was like, why ain't you going back and forth with me?
Right.
Why? And she was like,
why
I'm not
you
going to do
making
this.
this easier?
And it was so hard for me because, again, you're trying to still figure yourself out in new seasons. Okay, let me start to just take on these other people as my friends and their voices and their situations. And when I saw, after all the stuff hit the fan, as they would say, and the people who were in my ear weren't there, and I literally was left to my knees. I literally was left in my mama's kitchen on the floor, crying out to God about so much stuff that I had taken on and lied about, and because I wasn't understanding the season I was in, and just crying out to God and crying out to my mama, like, I won't get up until y'all forgive me. Melody wasn't in the room, but it was like, God, I feel like I left you. I feel like I done did my parents wrong. I feel like I've done everybody who's ever loved me wrong. And my mama was in the room when I cried out to God and just beating the floor, literally pregnant, 7 months pregnant, hitting the floor, beating the floor, crying out. And she was like, I don't know why you crying out, but just get up and go clean your face before your dad and them get home. But when I went into the back room, it was like a weight had been lifted. And the first person that I thought about was, I need to get right with Mel. Because I said a lot of stuff in anger, in confusion, in just a whole bunch of whatever. And when I called her, I cried so much. And she was like, girl, I knew you was coming back. I wasn't worried about what you said. So it was like, wait, I thought you was just going to throw me away. She's like, girl, we related if nothing else. But no, I love you. And the way that she took me back in, it was like when I dismissed her the way I did, even to me coming back, her love language to me, or her love, or the way she received me in my going and my coming, it was the same. And that was the first time I'd experienced somebody outside of, like, you know, a parent or whatever. Somebody like, yeah, we family, but you don't have to love me. She showed me Yeah, friends will say some stuff that, girl, I don't know what you was thinking or where you were on, but I'm gonna give you your space, and when you finish, I'll still be here. Not everybody will do that.
Yeah.
And the fact that she did, and she's the godmom of my oldest baby, and the way she just showed up for me from that moment on, it was like, okay, if I don't know anything else, if I have not learned anything else, I know that friendships will have to go through the test of time to really see what this relationship is made of.
Yeah.
And so when I hear people say, yeah, that's my girl, that's my dude, and not that every relationship has to have this major falling out to really see if y'all true friends, but sometimes you need to know to what extent, like how far.
It's harder to know who your friends are when you ain't been through nothing.
Right. And again, I'm not trying to say to go be toxic or whatever.
Right.
Let me just keep testing this person to see what their limits are. But the fact that in my ignorance and my being naive and all the other things, she had maturity. She had love that went beyond my words in that moment. And that's like as a 19, 20-year-old that I started to learn, okay, this is what grown women do.
Right.
This is how grown
that
women
was
get down.
very mature for her.
That's a mature thing.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my friendships that I have to this day since that time, again, I compared them to me and Melody's relationship. And I have some very, very, very good close friends that I hold dear to my heart. And it's like, we've been able to do life together. So to answer the whole thing of like, going through challenges and friendships, it's learning how to do life with them. And life didn't always mean I'm calling and talking to you every day.
Right.
I love her. She loved me, but we look, no, girl, don't call me every day. But if you need me, she'll text me in the middle of the night, and I have a special ring for her. She has a special ring for me. If we get in the middle of the night phone call or text, I'm waking up.
Yeah, I'm there.
I'm there. So it's like, it's understood. And I have other sister friends who are just like that. The fact that even my kids, they even call my good close sister friends their auntie.
Yeah.
Mom, is that Auntie Monica? Is that auntie? Is that auntie? Yeah, because I feel like she's close enough to me. We've done life so close, and we've given each other space. We've gone through some different challenges. And even when it's all said and done, I say to them what Mel said to me. I don't know what all is going on, but I'll give you the space that you need. But just know when you're ready, I'm still going to be right here.
And that was key.
Yes.
That was key, because I'm the type of friend that you can talk to me about anything. If we disagree, me and my sister are like that. We can get into a big argument and we're laughing and talking about it the next day, But the key thing between you and her that I hear, that I love, is that, and something that I need to do more. Because the challenge with me is, if I don't feel welcome, I'm almost like a vampire. Okay. So
no, I hear you.
If I don't feel welcome to in your life, I won't come. If I don't feel welcome to a party, if I'm not invited, I'm not coming. But if you come to me, if we have a disagreement and somebody come to me and we can talk like two mature adults, then we can talk about it. Depending on what happened, I may need a moment. Like, give me some time. But I'll tell you, I need a little time. But whenever but one of the things that I just learned from your story is she communicated with you and said, "I'm gonna give you your time. But when you're ready, I'm here." I didn't do that. It was more like, all right, okay. And I fall back and I won't reach out. I won't tell you can come to me. For me, it was like, I want you to do it because you want to and not because I told you to.
Yeah. I get that.
But I'm there. I'm the type of friend, we could fall out, but if you need me, you can call me. If you need to talk, but the more time that go by, it's like, I'm working on my trust issues. But
no, I get it.
But too much time go by. Now I can't trust you with my heart because you ghosted me.
Yeah.
But I also am understanding that maybe it's because you think I was going to respond a certain way. And I want to extend the olive branch, but I'm like, I don't want to extend it if I'm not welcome. if you smack it out my hand.
And see, that's the thing with friendships and relationships. It's like there's a level of vulnerability that word is the part, because to come back to somebody with your tail between your legs and it's like, okay, I'm coming like a humble position or as vulnerable as I know how, and you could
that
very well
says a lot about you.
But that was something that she was showing me, because it was like she didn't give me the satisfaction, or at least what I thought I would feel satisfied with her going back and forth.
Yeah.
She didn't give me that. But then it was like to see how far left and this is how they say you live life forward, but you can understand it in understand it backwards.
Yeah.
And it was like after I had gone through that whole like, wait, I'm literally sitting in this space. And now I'm really starting to question who was really for me, because the people who told me what they told me and I said what I said to her, wait, they're not even here. Wait, and they just got here and I listened to them. What does this say about me?
Yeah.
Wait, I remember when Mel did it. I remember, and I said this. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
And that was like one of those big moments of being protective in like who I let in my space, to the point where it's like, okay, you just got here, and what does that say about me that I allowed you just getting here on the scene to tell me all this stuff about somebody who I've known my whole life, and you just met them through a couple of situations, and I let you influence me? What does that say about me? So it was a big aha moment. It was a big mirror in my face of like, girl, how would you feel if somebody did? And it was that thing of me, like, you putting yourself in those shoes of, what do you think she feels? Because she didn't do anything to you. When you look back at it, you just hurt because of your situation and the trauma bonds, kind of like what you mentioned earlier. I developed a trauma bond with these people who could relate to my situation. And because we going through it, and anybody who wasn't in our situation, like Melody, she wasn't going through the same situation that I was going through. So the trauma bonding that I'm developing with these other people have said, yeah, she ain't for you. She just mad because she ain't like you. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So that trauma bonding thing is real.
Yeah.
And again, to your point where you said, when you stop talking about trauma bonds and you just start like, okay, what else do we have in common? We really ain't got, and really that was just one situation in my life.
Yeah.
And even in that one situation, Mel was like, I don't understand it. I'm not in it. And I don't know what all you feeling, but I'll just be here when you figure it out.
Yeah.
That just showed a lot. And it was like, okay, let me learn how to go and be a grown woman, because my sister really is teaching me real life lessons on communication. That communication ain't gonna always be easy.
Yeah.
It's not gonna always be at your convenience. It's gonna be some like, let me go and eat this almond pie. Girl, I was stupid. I was wilding out. I don't know what all I was thinking. Let me say all the things, and I keep rambling off all the things until you tell me, girl, you ain't got to say no more. You're good. So yeah, it's that's a big piece when it comes to friendships, relationships, is the communication piece, which can be hard and it can be vulnerable, because you don't know how the other person could very well just say, okay, thank you for saying that, and I don't want to have nothing else to do with you.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with the repercussions of that. You know, it's every choice has some type of response, and you can't predict what the other person will say, but it's like, if anything, let me at least clear my conscience.
Yeah.
Let me at least let you hear from my mouth what I've now learned.
Yeah.
And that's a gift in her friendship and our friendship to this day that I still treasure. So,
yeah,
girl, yeah, the vulnerability piece with the relationships is a whole thing when it comes to communicating.
Yeah, and communication is really key. That's the real key. And it was really big of you to say, you know, I was wrong, you know, and that's what I struggle with. If me and someone have a disagreement, you know, because I'll say when I'm wrong. I'm not prideful when it comes to that. But I have an issue with having connections to people who will not admit when they're wrong.
I agree with you on that one. I do struggle in that regard. And I've gotten better, but I still go back to okay, let me at least get my part straight. And as I get my part straight and I see that it's hard for you, I realize there's only so much or only so close we can be, because if only one of us in the relationship is willing to admit or to have some type of self-awareness, then, I mean, it's only so far or only so deep your relationship can go. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I mean, in the sense of like, if I'm owning my part and I feel like I'm being vulnerable, but you can't, then there's only a certain level or depthness to that friendship or
Yeah,
relationship.
you done put a ceiling on it. You done put,
Yeah.
well, we can't get past this because if it's this minor and you can't say, oh, I apologize or I was wrong or
Right.
whatever, that's an issue for me. Like, you have to have your boundaries, or you have to have certain things that, and that's part of a toxic relationship to me. If you shift the blame on me, if you don't take responsibility for your part, whatever kind of relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship or if it's a friendship, family, or whatever, but if you can't recognize that you were wrong in what happened, then, and it's all on me, and I've apologized, but you can't accept your part, then then it will be no part, because
I mean, but
because we
that's the
can't move
boundary.
forward.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
You said it. I agree with you on the boundary piece.
Yeah.
Because you want to have the freedom to be fully yourself and accept it, even if it's like, okay, I know we gonna fall out. I know when we fall out, we need a minute to take a beat. But when we come back together, we both like, girl, it was I was wrong, or no, I was wrong, or baby, I'm sorry, or baby, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But
And how do we fix this? How do we?
Right.
Yeah.
You can see that's something that we do well, that even we're gonna have the disagreements, that's part of it. But how do we resolve it when we come back together?
Yeah.
Is it always, or is it typically one-sided where one of us is apologizing, the other one's just like, okay, then we good? No, wait. If it's more of that versus I've seen the part I played in it, or there's some level, if you start to see that, okay, it's just really hard for you to do it. Now I'm starting to think like, okay, wait.
Yeah.
I don't want to start side-eyeing our relationship, start to question, so there needs to be either the freedom in it, or there needs to be some type of
There got to be some accountability.
Okay. Definitely.
Both parts.
Sure.
Both parts. Yeah.
Yeah.
There have to be some accountability, or, but I've learned a lot about friendship through my marriage too. Because you have to be friends with your mate. You have to.
Yeah.
I've heard people say, well, I mean, that's not my friend, that's my husband. No, he should be your friend. But anyway, your friend too. So it has to be a friendship. And that's what keeps us bonded. It's not just the love, because there's a lot of people that love each other and end up divorced. But it's the friendship and the respect and the both willingness, because you're going to have problems. You're going to have problems in friendships. But it's how you resolve the issues.
That part.
That, because sometimes getting through those issues can bring you closer.
Yep.
But you can't get there if the person is always gaslighting. and trying and saying, oh, well, if you wouldn't have did this, or you wouldn't have did, wait a minute, I accept my part, and I'm not going to argue with, I'm not going to argue with no grown woman. I'm not. Like, as far as female friendship, we can have a disagreement without all the hollering and yelling, and no, that's not going to work. You need to calm down. And if you can't calm down, then we can't talk right now. Send me a text, because you're not going to sit here and yell at me like I'm your child.
Right. But that's you being clear about a boundary of, this is how far I respect myself.
Yeah.
In this relationship, to just say, what I'm not going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. We get so focused on our relationship with other people, but what about the relationship we have with ourselves? So what does self-care look like for you, and how do you prioritize it and balance it with caring for others?
Yeah, the self-care piece is learning how to be a friend to myself. The friendships that I desire to see, desire to have, because that was one of the questions when I first started counseling a few years back. I mentioned a couple of relationships that I was really hoping to look a certain way. And one of the first questions or homework that I was given from my counselor was, tonight, just write down, what does that look like? if you could just have that type of relationship, or if the relationship that you desire, what does that look like? Write it all down.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept writing and writing and writing all these things. And it wasn't like fairy tale type stuff.
Right.
It was just, I want you to show up. I want you to be there for me. I want us to be able to enjoy, kind of like what you were saying earlier, the good or the bad situations. I want to know that I can call you on either side, not have to filter my conversations. I want to be able to sit in the same space and we can read a book without necessarily having to talk, but we're in each other's space. Or
right.
It was just certain things that I was just wanting. And the more I kept writing down what those friendships or those relationships that I really was kind of struggling with at that time, for the two people in particular at that time, the more I kept writing, it was like, okay, two things that popped out to me was, one, have they shown you in all these years that you've been trying to get this type of relationship, have they shown you that they have the capacity to do it? And that was something that I actually kind of mourned and grieved for a bit, because it was I've been trying to make them be a certain version of a friend, or to show up in this relationship in a certain way. And they keep telling me I'm doing the best I can with what I know. It seemed like I'm just not good enough. And I had to realize they literally were probably giving me the best that they knew how.
Yeah.
But I wanted more.
Yeah.
So it was like, how can I ask somebody outside of me to be more for me when they're telling me they're giving me all that they know how to give? So then it was, okay, let me put the mirror up. Okay, God, what about me is these things that I've written on this list? Am I for myself?
Yeah.
Do I show up for me? Am I okay with being good in my own presence? Do I like going out to eat with myself? And the more I kept thinking about it, it's like, I actually do. I really do enjoy my presence. I really enjoy going out.
Yeah.
I really do enjoy it. So then it was like, okay, so April, nurture that in you. And what they can give these other relationships or friendships that you want them to show up in a certain way, what they're giving, if they're saying, I'm giving the best I know how, I just don't know how to do all this other stuff. Love them where they are.
Yeah.
And you nurture the parts in you that you are wanting outside. God, show me how to be there for myself, or be open to the people who do give it. And maybe I just haven't recognized it, because no, you're not the package. I'm looking for this particular quality show up in this particular person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, but no, he's showing you through that same lady who shows up at the bookstore every week that you volunteer. She's willing to sit and talk to you and ask questions. And okay, yeah, she don't look like you. She's an older widowed lady, but she just shows up at this little bookstore that you volunteer at. And for an hour or two, she's just so happy to see you. She just wants to talk, and she remembers the last conversation. Oh, okay. Yeah. So then it allowed me to start to see, I can nurture what I have in me that I appreciate. I can see those who are close proximity, who are trying. I can appreciate what they're giving. And I can also recognize the other traits in people who I didn't even expect for it to show up in.
Yeah.
And I can be able, so the self-care started to come into nurturing myself, being quiet with myself, being honest with myself, and trying to be first to me what I wanted other people to be to me. Because sometimes we'll ask people, what do you want in the first? I don't know what I want. You should know. If you don't know, how would I know?
And how can you expect somebody to give it to you if you don't know what it is?
Exactly. Yeah. So then it was like learning how to articulate it. What's the language for it? Let me sit with this. Let me read. Let me write. And watching certain movies. And it's like, oh, that's what I want to feel. Or, oh, that's what I want to see. So the prioritizing it in me first, me sitting with God, me seeking counseling and just talking things out, bouncing it off of someone else, it helped me prioritize, or better put things in perspective of people are people. We're limited. And sometimes we're trying to get people to feel God-sized holes.
Yeah.
There are certain voids in us that only God can feel. Yeah. A person can feel it.
Yeah.
So once I started to get clear on those things, it helped me to see me better. It helped me to see the people who are in relationship with me, who love me. They say they love me. And even though it may not always translate, like you do this and you say that is your way of showing love.
That's their language.
That's their language. So let me sit and learn your love language. Let me sit and ask, okay, so when you do this, yeah, that's my way of showing you I love you. Oh, okay, because that's not necessarily my love language, but I can, okay, so then learning how to, as they say in like being able to be a translator, like there are English and Spanish translators. I'm now having to be a love language translator. So all of those things of like, okay, when you do that, that is your way. And me sitting over to the side like, April, this is like, I'm not a big gift person. But if I'm in a relationship with people who like, they just always buying gifts, it's like, I'm appreciative of it. But it's like, okay, this is your way of showing love.
That's their language, yeah.
That's their language. So we typically give, or we're in relationship and we give in our own language.
Yeah.
My love language is acts of service and quality time. So the way I show my love is I will sit with you, even in the quad, or you just need to ramble, I'll sit.
Yeah.
Because I know you're eventually going to get somewhere, or you just need to process out loud. But that's me sitting through this with you, is me showing I'm in it with you. Or me doing like, I can tell you got a lot on your plate. Look, girl, I'm going to DoorDash you. No, okay, the kids, they get, okay, look, here you go, $20 in your cash app. Go to Starbucks on me. That's my acts of service.
Yeah.
Those are my love languages. But having to be able to tell the people who I'm in relationship with, this is my love language. This is what really translates to me. And when I see them make the effort for me to be like, you know what? I know that ain't usually you, because I have a brother. My youngest brother is not a touchy-feely person.
Yeah.
He is not. He does not like hugs. He does not, but he knows that's one of the first things that I do. But I had to learn over time, let me not be offended. When I come around and I want to do my brother ain't seen you. I come in, he's like, sis, you always coming in like, I just, that's a lot for me.
Yeah.
So he started to see over time that I would just come in like, hey, bro, it's good to see you. I would come in, bringing it down 1,000. And after doing it a few times, when he started saying, look, just go and bring it in. And I was like, oh, he said, look, don't do that. See, don't do that. Yeah. And I'm like, oh. So just learning
their boundaries,
other people's love languages, me learning how to translate love language as another language, me also trying to be for me what I want other people to be, and also recognizing there are some things that only God can feel.
Yeah.
That's a long-winded answer.
No, but also, how do you prioritize your self-care as you're caring for other people?
It goes back to dealing with anxiety and stuff. A lot of things, I'm like, I have a level of control, and then there's some things that are outside of my control. But actually writing things down, looking at my week when I see how I care for my husband, my kids, and people I'm in relationship with, how I like to show up for them, I still put me on my calendar, like literally and figuratively. I still put me on the calendar.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm not working a 9 to 5. I'm a raised from home mom. I'm not necessarily a stay-at-home mom. I raise kids from home and raise a lot of everything and manage a lot from home. But even in me managing their schedules and their calendars and all the volunteer and advocacy work I do, I know as an introvert, as much as I give, I need sometimes just as much at that same time. So if I'm giving 3 or 4 hours to 1 or 2 things, I'm going to need a good 3 to 4 hours myself to sit, to write, to reflect, to just be. And that's usually time for me to reprocess and all the things. So even if it's just, okay, I put on the calendar, I'm going to go to this cute little coffee shop that I saw. That's just me sitting, putting back into me. And that's an introvert thing, I believe, as far as the way I refuel myself.
Yeah.
I don't have to be around a lot of people.
No, me neither.
To feel filled up again. Yeah. So I know if I keep giving out, and I don't prioritize or put me on the calendar, or if I see it's going to be a busy week and I do not see after 3 or 4 hours of doing this conversation and that work and then volunteering here and going there, if I don't see some type of break, if I don't see it at all, my anxiety really increases. My blood pressure goes up. So I have to literally be able to see reminders in my calendar. Okay, this is your time to literally sit. Okay, eat you something good for yourself. You can splurge a little bit tonight. You can do this. You stand on track with your weight and all these things during the week. But Saturday, girl, they're going to have this little food truck that's your time. And I even communicate to my husband and kids. And I had to learn it early, telling my kids, mama need a minute. Mama needs 30 minutes. I'm putting 30 minutes on this clock. When you see the timer go off, mama be back. Yeah. But while that 30 minutes is on the clock, you all stay in this room. Do not slide a note under the door. So having to communicate, Mama need her time. And so I knew they started to get it when they were a little bit younger, like 10 to 12 years old, coming into the house from work or from running errands, and they would have my jazz music playing and a candle lit.
Oh, wow.
That was when I started to recognize, like, okay, there really is something. And once you learn it for yourself and you can communicate it to other people that you love, this is what I need.
Yeah.
If you can't give it to me, at least give me the time so I can give it to me. But when I saw my kids start to say, Mom, you need your music. Mom, you need the 30 minutes. Mama, you need to go take your bath. Mama, you need this.
I love that.
That was like, okay, that was huge for me as a mother. And also for them to be able to see, Mama want to give y'all the best that y'all want and the best that I want to give. But Mama tired.
Yeah.
Mama need a minute. Mama getting cranky. You know how you need a nap? Mama need a nap.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So once I start to see that my kids can get okay, kids can get it. Grown-ups can get it.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to communicate it. I have to establish it. I have to let them know I literally need this. I need 6 to 7 hours of sleep minimum at night. I need this not just to function, but for my health. To stay in balance with my health, I do not need to see certain foods in the house.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fall off the wagon if I see some baby cakes, but if I see them on the regular, that's not healthy for me. So it really would help me, or, so communicating, this is what I need.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to give it, this is what I have to give to me. So I need the space and the time to give it.
Yeah.
So those are ways that I try to prioritize, is by me putting it on my calendar, me communicating to the people that I love or who are in relationship with. And if they don't know how, me also saying, if you don't know how to, when I say I need give me 2 hours and I promise I'll be back.
Yeah.
I promise I'll be back. I'm not leaving you. I'm not mad at you, but I feel like if I stay here, if I don't get this an extra 30 minutes, this 30 minutes is going to affect the way I communicate. I need 30 minutes to reset. I need a good 20 minutes to sit in this closet. Melody and I, we used to be that, or we still are that when we come to family function. Sometimes it's like a game plan before the family function. Hey, sis, so I done checked out. There's a bedroom and a bathroom over to the side over there. If you need to tap out, just give me the tap, or like you give me that eye and I cover you. Look, go hide out in the back. I got you. So it's that communicating with your people. So yeah, again, long-winded, but this stuff really resonates with me when it comes to healthy friendships and relationships, and even the healthy friendship and relationship that you have with yourself. So
the thing that I've learned in the past, maybe when did I had my heart attack in 2017. So that made me really focus on self-care. That made me be more intentional with self-care and setting up boundaries and putting myself first sometimes. A lot of times. So for me, it's working on myself, it's healing, it's dealing with my mental health. What's important to me is my internal. So working on myself, working on bettering myself, working toward my goals and my purpose and stuff has really, if I'm not okay, I can't be good for nobody else. I can't be a better wife or a better mother or a better friend if I'm not good, to myself or for myself. So
do you communicate that to your other friends, or your husband and your boys or friends? Do you communicate that verbally, or do you do that in your actions for yourself?
I do it in my actions.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but they know, because I'm always sharing. At one point, especially during COVID, we all did it together as a family. Like we would sit in a circle and pray at night. And we would take turns, and it wasn't just praying together, but it was learning to be comfortable with praying around other people for me. Because I would, go into this, when I'm praying by myself, I'm different. I get nervous around other people when I pray, and that's something that I wanted to overcome. And I wanted that experience for Zion.
Yeah.
During COVID, we adopted that. And because he was at home, homeschooling, we would work out together at night. So he was getting his exercise in. So I started reading the children's Bible to him.
Love it.
So I would read 1 or 2 chapters a day, and I
Mm-hmm.
made it part of the curriculum. So before we started class, we get up, we, do get dressed and all that stuff. And I will read a chapter of the Bible every day during the week. I've always wanted to do that, but I didn't find time. So stuff that I wanted to do, I said, okay, instead of me making it separate, we just made it something that we did as a family. So I will read to him in the morning. My husband will read to him at night, because I wanted to build a better relationship, not just with myself, but a better relationship with God. And I was hungry for a better relationship with him. And, sometimes we forget, our connection to God is a relationship too.
Yeah.
And I said, in order for me to strengthen my relationship with myself and my relationship with others, I have to strengthen my relationship with the creator, and I said, okay, what does that look like? Okay, if I was in a relationship with anybody else, I'm going to take time to talk to him. I'm going to take time and not just treat him like a genie, and just pray when I need something. Those are the type of relationships I don't really like either. When you only call me when you need something, and I didn't want that type of relationship with God, where I only talk to you when I need something. No, I want to talk to you through the good and the bad. I want to talk to you and appreciate you and love on you no matter what's going on in my life. And the only way I can love you is to understand you. And in order for me to understand you, that's when I got to read the Bible. I got to read. And for me, I enjoyed the children's Bible.
Listen, it got pictures and stuff and make it simple too. Listen.
Right. King James, I was like, I don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It was just like, but what does that mean? So I needed it simplified. And I wanted it simplified while I'm talking to Zion. But so what was that about? And he was so into it.
That's awesome.
And I was like, I don't know how much he's grasping, because for those who don't know, Zion has Down syndrome, but he understands a lot more than people give him credit for. When someone, and you talk about communication and relationship and connection, Zion has taught me so much about non-verbal love and connection and communication. Without saying a word, he has taught me so much about life and connection and God. So when we had a cat named Hershey that a friend gave me years ago, and Hershey passed. And I didn't know how to communicate that with Zion. And I just want to share this to make a point about what he perceived, or how he perceived things.
I'm interested in this one.
So Zion, this was a few years ago. So he was maybe 17, 18, something like that. So, and Zion is nonverbal. So he can communicate is maybe 1 or 2 words. I asked Zion, so I was trying, how can I explain this to Zion? How can I help him understand? So my way of telling him about death, I said, Hershey is going to heaven, and he's going to be playing, and he's going to be at peace. He's going to be with God. And I said, do you understand? And he nodded his head, yeah. And he looked like he was thinking. And I said, what is heaven? And he said, it's peace.
Oh, wow.
And I said, you're right. So from then on, I would say they're gone to peace. Hershey is gone to peace. Or this person, when we lose loved ones, I say they're gone to peace. because I didn't want to communicate to him that death was this horrible place.
Yeah.
So his understanding of death is peace. So, and we say it all the time anyway, rest in peace, you know. My point was, Zion has taught me about love and connection with God and relationship through his way of how he processed love and connection. And so I'm going to veer into something different. So in dealing with self, from your perspective, how does self-reflection play a role in your growth? How do you believe it contributes to better relationships with yourself?
I guess kind of like what we've been saying it actually this whole time, but I've mentioned it earlier that life is lived forward.
Yeah.
But it's understood backwards, you know. So the self-reflection, and that's, I guess, another piece of the introversion of me, like staying, like going inside and reflecting back. And I take a lot of pictures, not necessarily always because, well, I enjoy pictures, but it gives me also a way that once I'm out of the moment, the occasion has passed, I know I was there, but I really get to really remember what happened through pictures or through the videos. Yeah. So I'm paying Google a whole lot of money to keep all these gigs of pictures and videos that I have since 2012, 2008. But the self-reflection gives me an opportunity to see growth, to see where I was at that time. What was I feeling at the time? What was going on at that time? Or, oh, that was a happy occasion, and, you know, all those things. So being able to look back, not just in my quiet time, but even in reflecting through pictures and videos of my kids, my husband, family, and special moments, and even sad moments, I still can see growth. I can see how far I've come, or how far certain relationships have evolved, or I get to see people that I didn't appreciate that person was there. Wait, all these pictures, that person was just in the background. I didn't see that at first. But looking back at the pictures, I can see who really was there, you know, even in sometimes different, like big occasions, special occasions, you don't get to see who all was there. Not everyone stays around to do all the hugging and the kissing. And I'm so glad this happened, or I'm so sorry for. But sometimes if there are people there who taking pictures, or, hey, I just saw these pictures and I want to send it to you, and you're looking like, wait, when was this? Where was I at? You know, and it's because you get to see a snapshot of something that really did happen, but you may not remember it all because you weren't fully present or whatever. But the self-reflection helps me to see how far I've come, how far people who've stayed with me, because sometimes you may forget they've been here for a long time. You just haven't, or they've shown up in this way. You just didn't see it. And a picture does that for me. A video does that for me. And even in just writing, I write a lot. I still have my journals from when I was in 6th and 7th grade, which is crazy. But I don't know why I told my mama to never throw them out. And
that's good.
Even against her own better judgment, she's like, I just said, Mom, just keep all this stuff. I'm going to need it one day. And ironically, this summer, I came across one of my journals from 8th grade. Those writing prompts that the teachers used to give you, the little in English, or this is your writing prompt for the day. I found my 8th grade writing journal, and my youngest is in 8th grade right now. And to see her, when I told her, I said, hey, look at this. I said, I found my 8th grade writing journal. And she was like, Mama, what were you thinking as an 8th grader? I said, girl, I don't know. Let me read this first before I let you read it. And just to see what I was thinking even as an 8th grader, to now be able to relate to my now 8th grader. And even just reading some stuff out loud, she was like, Mom, what were you thinking? I said, girl, I was in 8th grade. Does this sound familiar? And she was like, I don't think like that. I do talk like that, but I don't know you. So even in those kind of moments, it's helpful for me to be able to relate to my kids that, hey, yeah, I was once your age, and you're the same silly stuff that you thinking. I was thinking it too. And if you don't believe me, look at this journal that I wrote all these little boy names on, and all these little stupid little drawings, and all the. But it shows me that, okay, it helps me relate as well, because sometimes we can forget where people are, or I was once you.
And seeing
Or
how far you've come. Yeah.
in that part, yeah.
Yeah.
So even with the writing and the pictures and all memorabilia, that kind of thing, I'm not a hoarder. I've given away a lot of things and discarded a lot of things, but there are still some pieces that I keep because it just serves as like mile markers. And even in scripture, it talks about, like in the Bible, it'll mention like there was like certain moments that God would just tell the children of Israel, or the people that he would be delivering from one land to another.
Mm-hmm.
Before they got to the promised land, he would tell them, stop and make a memorial here, so that this can serve as a place that your children can come back and reflect on.
Oh, wow.
Name this place this.
Yeah.
These rocks that you set here, this is just to serve as a reminder of I was once here, or we were here. This is where we were. This is the season we were in, on our way to where we're going. But we need to sometimes have those little markers along the way. So for me, pictures and writings and videos, and even sitting in my own self-reflection in the moment, those are all ways to kind of help center me and kind of help me see growth and areas that I can still improve on, but just to see how far God has brought me.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And for me is realizing that, how much I've grown, but also recognizing that, I guess when you see how far you've come, you can be a little more, give yourself a little more grace when it comes to, oh man, I'm being so hard on myself because I'm not where I want to be. But having to reflect back, not stay there, but reflect back for a moment, just to realize how far you've come. Because sometimes we can be so caught up on where we want to go that we lose sight of the present and the lessons and the growth that we've learned from the past. I'm glad that I'm able to look back and see growth versus look back and I'm the same. Because that would be more devastating to me to look back at I'm 51 now, to look back at 41 or even look back at 21 and I haven't changed. If you're the exact same in 20, 30, 40 years, you haven't learned anything. And of course your core is the same, but there's, even in my relationship, I've changed. I'm not the same person I was then. So it is critical to be able to look at yourself, whether you looking back or you looking in the mirror. It is critical to your growth. Make yourself accountable. Whatever your goals are, you have to also have that for your relationships. You have to also have set goals for the relationship and the relationship with yourself. Like I literally was like, okay, I'm struggling with this, whether it's self-esteem, whether it's certain things I don't like about myself. Okay, so how do I overcome this? How do I get a better relationship? Who you are has an influence on your relationships, whether good or bad. So you have to take a moment to plan, okay, I used to sit down since I was a teenager. I used to sit down every year before the new year and say, okay, these are the things I need to improve about me. Not in a mean way, like, oh, what's wrong with me or whatever, but more like, okay, I have to do better. And learning from other people's mistakes. And as far as my relationship with myself, I really enjoy, some people be like, oh, I get lonely or I get, bored. I don't get bored with me. I really don't, because I enjoy, like you said earlier, I enjoy my company.
Yeah.
And we're both introverts. So
yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is that an introvert thing?
I think it might be, but I really, if I'm around a lot of people, I get so exhausted by the time I leave from with them that I have to be by myself to recharge. So yeah, it's very critical to be able to look in the mirror, just like Mike MJ say.
Yeah. Starting with
it starts with
man in the mirror.
the man in the
Yeah.
mirror. So
The one man.
you have to be able to look at yourself. Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see in the world. That means you have to start with yourself. You have to start with you in order for you to impact not just the world, and it can be your world, your home, and it expands. And I love that you said your kids, they'll have stuff set up for you to have your moments. My husband and my son, they know that when I have my moments, and they'll give me my space when I'm working on something. Even with Zion, he will, notice that I'm have my headphones on and I'm in a zone, and he'll just, or he'll sign language to me.
Oh, so he does sign language?
He's not fluent, but yeah, he'll do some signs. So
no. I was just about to just tag to say that even with sign language, I was mentioning like having to be a translator for love languages. The nonverbal language, there is something there as well that we can still be, because you already alluded to him. Even though he's nonverbal, is to an extent though, he's still communicating with you in different ways. Yeah. And that's showing you that, and even in that, I mean, there's a lot of nuggets that can be unpacked with that one, but I'm not going to divert. But there are so many ways we can communicate in relationship, and sometimes it takes more than just one way. It may not always be a verbal thing. It may be a nonverbal thing. It may be an action or
body language or
body. All of those are different things that are needed in relationship, and not all are received or given the same. Each relationship may require something different. This relationship, as long as I'm communicating via my words, you get me. You don't get words, you get action, or you need a little bit of action and you need some so learning, or even hearing you say that Zion is able to still communicate to you his needs, because I think we too teach people, once we learn it for ourselves, and even with you quoting Gandhi, be the change you desire to see, or however you said it, however he said it. When we can be it, we can show people that they too can become it, and then they learn how to start to embrace it and learn it for themselves. Okay, I see you taking care of yourself, or prioritizing yourself in this way, or you're even able to communicate to me your needs. Okay, what is it that I need? Let me figure out. I may not be able to tell you in words, but I can sign it to you. I can point it to you. I can reference, that feeling that girl showed in that particular movie when this happened? That's what I want. Oh, okay. So there's just so many different ways that we can still communicate our needs to ourselves and to others, if we're willing to just see it, how that person's able to give it. You know what I mean? So I thought that was beautiful. Zion be teaching. Okay.
Yeah, he do. Oh my God. I can.
Zion.
That's a whole show by itself.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
Yeah, with people, with individuals like him and his peers, the life lessons that we learn from them. That's just that. So it's powerful. It's really powerful. His journey is very spiritual. But their journey is very spiritual, and it teaches us more than what we think they were born for us to teach them something, but they're teaching us something. Yeah. So speaking of spiritual, how does spirituality contribute to deeper connection with God, and what benefits have you personally experienced in those in other areas?
So this one, we won't be able to I'll just have to high level and probably do one bullet point, because my faith is such a big thing for me. So I won't even try to hit all or try to go too deep in this one. At least I'm hopeful and prayerful that over our continued future conversations, I can reveal more of that. But it's one thing to be raised to believe in something or someone bigger than you and outside of you as a kid. Yeah. And you just do it because you see that's what we do. This is just the culture that we're in. This is what mama does. This is what daddy does. This is what grandma do. And this is what the people who look like me and my family, this is what we do. And then there comes a point where you're faced with certain situations in life where you really question, okay, do I really believe that? Or was I doing it only because that's what I was taught?
Yeah.
And since becoming a mother at 19, I really believe that's when my relationship with God, my relationship with God through Jesus. I'm a Christian. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. I have to sometimes be clear because a lot of people say, I'm just spiritual or I believe in God. I want to make sure I'm clear about who I believe in.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make this real deep, but I've grown to appreciate the majority of the things that I was taught as a child. A lot of things I've had to learn and grow and take on for myself. But when you become a mother or when you become a wife or when you take on relationships that you're responsible for someone more than just yourself. And I'm not saying it for people who are single, because to be able to take care of yourself and learn and grow for yourself, that's a lot. When you're connected to other people and you're responsible for their direction or growth or assignment in life, there's this thing of, I can't do all this myself, or I don't know how to do this, or I know I've seen it done, but I need something bigger than me. And I've referenced it a few times since we've talked, is there's a God-sized hole.
Yeah.
That it took me some time to realize I was trying to fill that void, that there's something deeper, there's something more that I need. And I keep trying to find it in a person. I keep trying to find it in food. I keep trying to find it in sex. I keep trying to find it in this, in that, and in this constant pursuit of trying to find it in everything outside of me. I was able to start to find some of it in me, but then even in that, it was okay. That moment I mentioned earlier where I was in my mom's kitchen, crying out, beating on the floor, crying out because of I had really gotten to what I call like my rock bottom. When you get to the end of yourself.
Yeah.
I literally got to the end of April. Like, I'm 19, I'm doing stuff I don't understand. I don't know what this is. And I have this child that's going to be here in a few months. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I want to say I know what I'm doing. You know, we all have that. I know what I'm doing. I'm grown. Yeah. I did not know what I was doing. I was 19.
Yeah.
Who knows what they're doing?
I was too. Well, I was 19 when I got pregnant, but 20 when I had them. I had just turned 20.
Yeah, I had just turned 20 when I had my daughter. So, okay, so another thing we relatable on. So when I literally got to the end of myself and I know I can look at my mom, I can look at my dad, but these are still people who have their own hurts and stuff. And so, again, I'm trying to just do the high level because I can go so far into that. But learning that there has to be something outside of me because I don't always do me good. I'm not always good to myself, let alone to other people. I'm not always reliable for me, yet alone to other people. So I can't look to other people to be reliable. I can't look to myself to always be reliable. I need something higher and outside of me that's not cosmic, that's not mysterious. But no, I really do believe through studying scripture and studying different religions, kind of like what you mentioned as well earlier. You know, you study and like, okay, maybe there's some truth to that. There's some truth to that. But I know there's something bigger than me and outside of me. And what I've grown to love and accept and appreciate and live my life by is I believe that God created me for a purpose, and he allowed his son to come to this earth 2,000 plus years ago to be able to be an example, to show that it's so much that I can say. I'm trying to just high level. I learned early on that I can't do this life by myself. Yeah. I cannot try to figure it out. I don't know it all. No person on this earth knows it all. We can learn from each other, but I was created for something bigger than just me or you or anybody else. So, okay, who is going to show me that? Who is going to direct me to that? And I've grown to say it's God. So I spend time with God daily. I talk to God like he's my friend sitting right next to me. And it's sometimes a conversation to start, and 2 hours later, I'm like, oh yeah. And then I just keep picking up conversations. It's just like, I just talk out loud, or God, okay, my baby got this test going on, or God, my baby in school right now. And even my kids, they'll walk in the room sometimes like, Mama, who you talking to? The same thing that I used to ask my grandmama when we were younger. And I'm like, Big Mama, who you talking to? I'm just talking to the Lord. And it's like, where he at? You know, as a kid, you're like, where he at? Like, you'll find out, or as my other grandma says, just keep a living. Just keep a living, you learn. Just keep a living, you'll learn. And so when I find myself just like, okay, God, it's not in me. It ain't in me. It's something bigger than me. This whole world, my faith has carried me in places and in situations and beyond situations and places that when I reflect, I know it wasn't me. I can't give anyone else credit. I can't give not one person credit. And I believe God did that for a reason. Some situations he made it hard enough or crazy enough that, okay, nobody else can get the credit, but somebody bigger than me. And I say that somebody is God.
Yeah.
So I just want to, I guess, sum it up in that one little statement.
Yeah. The
things that God's allowed me to see and live and experience and be and do, it ain't nobody but God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so as we come to a close, how do gratitude and compassion impact your mindset and relationships, and what practices do you use to cultivate the attitudes of gratitude and compassion? That makes sense.
No, it does. And it's again, all of the things we're talking about today, they resonate like so deep that I have to I'm trying to be concise and direct. So I'm trying to take the time to formulate an answer that doesn't go too long. But the gratitude of just simply waking up saying thank you. Just literally, I find myself waking up saying thank you and going to sleep saying, Lord, I thank you.
Yeah.
Lord, I thank you. It was another day. It's another day. There are times, and I'm sure all of us can reflect on times where it's like, I don't know if I would want, based off what I did today, I don't know if I want this to be the last thing that I did on this earth.
Yeah.
And being scared to fall asleep because it's like, okay, I don't want this to be the last thing I did. I don't want this to be the last thing that people remember me by. But then when you go through that and it's like, okay, you blink and you wake up, it's like, wait, I'm still here?
Yeah.
Wait, I get another chance? Wait, even when I did this, said this, denied this, all the things that were wrong and whatever, or things I want to see come to fruition and I'm not sure, and yet I get another chance. Those are moments when, and even right now, I'm just sitting looking outside my window until my kids come home, just looking, I'm like, it's just so pretty outside. It's quiet. And it's like, okay, in my quiet time, I get to reflect of, God, I don't deserve to be here. It's so many people who have gone and left this earth. It's like, why them? And yet me? So for me, it's a daily reminder that I don't have to be here.
Yeah.
It's so much that God can really do in this earth without me, but yet he's allowing me to still be here. So while he has me here, what is it that I need to be getting right? What is it that I need to be doing with the time that I do have left? I want to see certain things with my kids. I want to see beyond just me and my family. And I so much I want to see done in this earth. So the fact that I just get to be a part of it, I'm part of the story that's being written, this big story that we all get to be a part of. I get to be a part of it. So just waking up with the sense of, Lord, I thank you.
Yeah.
And also recognizing that while I'm battling my own things, giving grace to other people because they're also probably trying to figure their stuff out like I'm figuring my stuff out. So before I'm quick to just say, oh, so you didn't think about me or you didn't call me, or no, she may be going through something.
Yeah.
Or he may be, this may be his particular season or her particular season, just like you had your season. And so you don't know where they are. So rather than being quick to judge, let me be slow. And that's another scripture. Rather than quick to judge, slow to anger.
Yeah.
Slow to speak.
Yeah.
Let me sit and just think before
and
I start
understand to and being understanding,
that part.
Even with communication, I've learned to be more to listen, to understand, instead of being so quick
to be right.
Or listening to, and while I'm thinking about how I'm gonna respond to this, or listening from the place of feeling attacked or feeling defensive or prideful or any of that. Just coming to a place of being, leading with love and leading with understanding, and that's how I am with disagreements now. I'm trying to understand, where's this coming from? What did I do wrong? And how do we fix this? Because life is too short. Life is too short to, whether we're going to move forward as friends or relatives or whatever. So just, gratitude and compassion has a major, major impact on, it has made me a better person.
Yes.
It's made me a better person to have a mindset or an attitude of gratitude and compassion has had a positive, it made me realize, instead of looking at what I don't have, instead of looking at coulda, shoulda, woulda back in the day and all this stuff, and just being grateful, like you said, just waking up and realizing, man, I'm still here. God, what is it you need from me? How it impact my relationships is being grateful that we have those moments together. Me and my friend Nikki go on walks a lot, and you have different connections with different people, but just being grateful for those relationships, and like you said earlier, as far as how you're connected, and being grateful that some people are really trying, they're doing their best, and that's where communication come in too, because instead of the guesswork or being afraid to talk to them about their person, like and if I can't be myself and have a conversation with you and say, look, that offended me or that hurt me, or even dealing with me instead of going to them every time. Sometimes it's not a them problem, it's a you problem. So you may be offended about something, but it wasn't them, it was how you processed it, because you're still, you may have some lingering triggers. So really, and if it is something they did, then that's something that needs to be a conversation. I have seasons where, and I want to say this before we go, I have seasons where I prefer to be alone. Being an introvert, and it may be partly menopause too.
Oh, that's another topic, another day.
But I have moments where I don't want to talk on the phone. I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to be with me. But it's not that I'm just sitting here staring at the wall. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm really, really doing some inner work. But sometimes I have to have those moments. I have to recharge and reboot, because there's so much coming at us, period. And there's so much happening in the world. But in my world is all the diagnosis and dealing with my health and, going through stuff with Zion and, or whatever. And sometimes I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to have a conversation about it. Sometimes I feel bad in a sense sometimes, because I don't want people that I'm friends with feeling like I'm alienating myself from them. Sometimes you do it because that's what you need, and it doesn't have anything to do with anybody. That's just how, as an introvert, that's how we do,
Yeah, and even in that, there's still the balance of helping our friends to understand it.
That's
so
true.
It still goes back to the communication piece of, I want you to understand it, but you may not. So let me try to at least give you a heads up. This is where I'm getting ready to go. It's about that time of year where I typically go, or because of this particular whatever that's going on these next couple of weeks. Please don't think that I'm ghosting you or I'm off the grid for any personal reasons. And sometimes it just has to be just, us as introverts communicating that, because even extroverts, it's like wait, girl, listen, I don't need to go to every party with you. I don't have to, I don't want, but if that's what it takes, okay, let's find a compromise, so that you don't feel like you having to give all into mine and I'm not having to give all into yours. It still goes back to that communication piece which we keep referring back to, is all about being vulnerable enough to communicate, especially if you feel like the friendship or relationship is worth having and fighting for, so that they can understand. If we're communicating to understand each other, like you said, first, I'm not trying to be right, you ain't trying to be right, I just want you to understand me. And that's a human need, to be seen, heard, and understood. Whether you may not, even if you don't understand it, I love you enough to at least try and to say, I see you, I hear you. Don't understand it all, but I'm willing to sit with you, or at least give you space and grace, that other word we've said. So that's all part of relationships. It's like, okay, yes, I'm an introvert. Yes, you're an extrovert. Okay, yes, I'm going to need quiet. You need loud. But as long as we're communicating it in a way where, okay, when you get that,
well, you're not
it's not, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Our friendship ain't we're not in no kind of like, okay, our friendship is in some type of ruins, or it's on the brink. No, this is just how I need to be able to show up, and I respect how you need to show up.
Yeah.
And we can still be friends and still love on each other and keep growing. Yeah. It's all that communication piece.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So this was really good.
We got to continue. This is, I really look forward to continuing, because it's so much that I think, even with what we said, I still feel like it's so much more that can still be said. So I look forward to continuing the conversations, even beyond this particular moment. So yeah, this was good.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Miss April Draine.
Miss Yvonne Pierre.
I do look forward to our next conversation. To the listeners, I wholeheartedly appreciate you taking, I gotta find something else to call them instead of the listeners. Anyway, I wholeheartedly appreciate you taking the time to tune in, to get in touch with either one of us. Our contact information is in the description section of this episode. I hope you find each episode to be valuable. Remember, investing in your intentional healing and growth is a gift to yourself. Until next time, be blessed.
Thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk About Healing with Yvonne Pierre. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share.